Hi, and welcome back to the videos. Again, we are piloting this for periods 1, 2, and 3, so you'll really have to make sure you give me some feedback on it and let me know how it goes for you. So chapter 11, we're talking about data displays. And what that is just what it sounds like, how we display data. And there's a lot of graphs that you've seen before, such as bar graphs, circle graphs, um, scatter plots, line plots. And so we're going to learn a couple of new ones and hopefully you like them. I think they're kind of fun. But the first thing I want to do is go over some of the terms that you're already familiar with. Um, and those are your mean, medium, mode, and range. So let's talk about the mean. How you find the mean that's another term. It's kind of the fancy math term for average. What is the average? So you add the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. Your median, I like to think about that as the middle. This is what we would call a median in a road. And you'll see that now that you know, you can drive by with your family and say, oh, that's called the median. So it's the middle number in a set of numbers that is arranged from smallest to greatest. And that's the most important thing that you want to do when you get a set of data is you always want to organize it in some way. And the best way to organize it is from least to greatest. And then the mode, I like to think about this one. I always think of a la mode because I want more ice cream. It's the one that occurs the most. And you can have more than one mode. If, let's say, you had a pair of sevens and a pair of eights, 7 and 8 would be the mode if that was the pairs were the ones that occurred the most. Hopefully this sounds familiar from 6th grade. And then we talk about the range, and that's the difference. So difference, you should think subtraction, between the lowest and the highest numbers in the data set. Now remember, you're already going to organize your data from least to greatest, so it should be pretty easy to find your range. And then the last term that we'll go over is the outlier. And I like to think about him as the outlaw. And the outlaw, like in the Western movies, they were the ones that were kind of doing their own thing. So it's the value that is either much larger or much smaller than the other values. So you could have a low outlier, and that kind of throws people off sometime. And that's going to affect mainly your mean. If you have a high outlier, it raises the mean. And if you have a low outlier, it lowers the mean. So I found this image right here, and I kind of liked it just because it gives you all of the key pieces of information with the definitions that we just went over. So again, this should be review from 6th grade. So I'm going to let you go ahead and write that down and let me know in class if you have any questions. So you can just notice the operations that they're doing. Difference means that we're subtracting, so we're finding our range. We're adding and then dividing, so this is our mean. And then we organized it from least to greatest to find our median. And then we look to see who has the most that occurred, and you can see these ones occurred the most. And then our outlier, or outlaw, so to speak, is 42, because he's kind of doing its own thing. So we're going to do several examples in class, but I'll go ahead and walk you through this example. So we love our San Diego Chargers, and here are some statistics from 2010. So the first thing I want to do, so I know I'm going to find the mean, median, mode, and the range. So I like to, before I even start adding, I like to just put them in order from least to greatest. And then I always like to count as well. And that makes me remember that I have all of the numbers. So here we go. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 pieces of data that I'm going to be organizing from least to greatest. So I have 2 ones, I can just cancel those out. I have a 2, a 3, a 3, and it looks like I have a 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, and 14. And again, just to double check, I'm going to count again. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's how many data sets or data points that I had. So I want to make sure I include them all. So to find your average, you're going to add them up. So I'm going to add these all up. Put that in there. And then I'm going to divide by the number of numbers. So divide by 11. So let's go ahead and try this with mental math. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. And then I've noticed that this is a 10 over here. So 10 plus 10 is 20. And then I get the 4 and the 6 can go together. So that makes it 30, 37, and 14. I know the 7 and 4 will make 11, but I'm going to go ahead and do that old school just so I know that I don't make a mistake. So again, we were up to 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have the 6 for 10. And then we have this right here for the 20. So 37 plus 14. And remember, it's okay to go ahead and do it old school. 7 plus 4 is 11. 3, 4, 5, 51. So we have 51 divided by 11. Okay, so I know I'm not going to get an even number, and that's okay. Remember, you can always have decimals. So let's just go ahead and see what we get. 51 divided by 11. 11 goes into 51 4 times. It gives me 44. I'm going to borrow from this guy. And then 6, 7. Then I'll add another 0. Bring him down. 11 goes into 76 times. 66. 4. Bring this guy down. And I'm going to go ahead and just stop here and round it. So remember, we do our approximation sign. So we'll say 4.6. So on average, they scored 4.6 touchdowns by the player. Each player. Interesting. Or they're receiving, I guess, players. So the nice thing about finding the median is that we've already put these in order from least to greatest. So I'm just going to change the color here. And I like to say 1 from the left, 1 from the right, 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 1 from the left, 1 from the right. Oh, and that's our median, stuck in the middle. So knowing that it was an odd number, I should have 5 on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I should have 5 on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have 2 numbers in the middle, got to think about what you need to do. You have to find what's in the middle of those 2 numbers. So you add those 2 up. It's like almost like you're folding it in half, and then divide by 2 because you add the 2 numbers. And then let's look at our mode. Kind of interesting. We have quite a few modes here. The ones that showed up the most, we have this one showed up 2. So I'm just going to circle these. Showed up 2, and this showed up 2. So my modes are 1, 3, and 5. And another thing to remember is if there were no modes, like say each number was unique, you want to make sure you write no mode, not 0, because 0 is a number. Could be, so somebody would think that the mode was actually 0. And so you want to make sure you write out no mode. That's okay, you can write that out. And then our range, we take our high, we subtract the low. So 14 minus 1 equals 13 is our range. So the next section to make our box and whisker plot, you're going to learn a couple of new things. And that's the new graph that I'm not sure if you've seen those before, but I think they're fun. So again, give me some feedback on this and I will see you in class.